We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire. Here to talk UFC 252, the main event we have been waiting for a while. Take my money, pay-per-view that I am willing to pay for. Stipe Miocic taking on Daniel Cormier, 3, capping off their trilogy. Cannot wait for this fight. With you as always, I'm your host of Fight IQ, the Daily Fantasy Sniper, the co-host, the analyst, the important guys on this show. Chris Olsen, you find him on Twitter at Real Chris Olsen. Joe, also better known in the DFS sphere as Sun Tzu. Guys, you ready for 252?
I'm ready. You know, for whatever reason, like when this fight was running up, I didn't care about it so much. But the past week or so, I've been really getting into the whole trilogy thing and built around. And we got a nice DFS card too. We got even the prelims that they're not, like they're not fights that an average fan might like, but they're interesting for DFS purposes. So yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you guys more. I mean, this is such an interesting card. No matter which stand you want to take, if you want to do stars and scrubs, there are lineups that can be built. If you want to go mid-range, I mean, I don't know that anyone with any high level of confidence could say that, there's a steadfast strategy other than stacking the main event in cash. I mean, I think that's probably the one thing that we all agree is
plus Marab.
Yeah, well, plus Marab, which is essentially, you had 200 points if you stacked Cormier and Miocic in his last fight. So I think that's going to be a pretty popular stack. But there's so many other ways to go, mix and match, that I am really spreading. I reserved 100 entries in the 20. I'm probably going to reserve 50 more and fully max out. This contest is a bit more of an even distribution. Even though it's $1 million guaranteed, it's $200K to first. There is a way because of the structure that you could actually make some ROI and not have the nuts. So I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely going to be a fun card. 11 fights. We did have Kutalaba Ankalaev drop off, which would have been a good GPP fight too. But for 11 fight card, it's actually pretty interesting for DraftKings. It looks like, no other issues are expected to pop up. We got through weigh-ins unscathed, knock on wood. So we're going to break down these 11 fights. I want to shout out everybody in chat. Thank you guys. Questions in there, all that stuff. If you're here live, we appreciate it. Record these Friday nights before pay-per-views. As always, make sure you go to rotowire.com/free for a 10-day free trial to all of their premium content. No credit card required. Also, subscribe to the RotoWire podcast and YouTube channel, RotoWire on YouTube, RotoWire MMA on iTunes. No more pleasantries. Let's talk face punching. First fight up, though, man, one that was thrown in these first 2 fights are they're a bit of a mess. But one is good for DFS and one not so much. And this one is on the not so much train. Kamika, 8,900, taking on Tony Kelly at 7,300. Kamika is a minus 215 favorite. Kelly plus 195. Kamika fought 2 weeks ago. Goes to a lot of decisions. Tony Kelly, on the other hand, very inactive career. I think 1 fight in the last 4 years. It was not that long ago, but long layoff prior to that. For my money, give me Kamika. I think he takes a decision here. The one thing that's interesting outside of the breakdown, some narrative, is that this fight is so short notice. We know Kamika just had a fight, so he's probably in shape. If Tony Kelly comes out, is he going to have that Justin James approach from a few weeks ago against Camacho where, hey, I probably have 5 minutes of gas, so let me just go bananas and try and get a knockout? Then this fight will be great for DFS. I don't get that feeling here. He doesn't seem like that type of fighter. He's usually pretty calculating too, but that's kind of the extra narrative, the game plan where this fight is good for DFS. I am taking Kamika for the win. And because since I started with narrative, I led with narrative this week, I have to let Joe go first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to add here. I mean, I'm probably going to just lean to the dog, if for no other reason than I see a lot better value at the price point on DraftKings in that upper tier. And, he is classified as an upper tier guy. If you really have a strong take on this fight, I think that he is going to be way under-owned at his price point. So there's certainly value there if you really, really like the favorite. I don't expect I'm going to have a lot of exposure to this fight, but the little exposure I do have will be at on the dog at 7.3K. So again, not a real strong opinion here, and I'm not really endorsing playing this fight a lot, but in what, at least on paper, looks like a fairly close fight, give me the 7.3K guy. Chris, what do you got?
Somebody in the chat asking if Kelly, I missed that. Did Kelly miss weight?
I didn't think anybody did. Give your breakdown. I will look it up while you're talking.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of side with Joe. Not in the dog. I'm actually picking the favorite here, just in the fact that I'm not really sure what to expect of this fight. Kind of because of what you mentioned, Shaun. Kelly is coming off the long layoff, and but I do like what's his name?
Kamika.
I do like Kamika here. I think he's got. Look, both of these fighters are pretty athletic. I think Kamika is more so. He's got a good kicking game. He's got a little bit of wrestling he can do. And you talked about Tony Kelly having only one fight since 2016, and that was a short fight in itself where the guy got taken down, or the guy took him down, and then he just guillotined him. So it wasn't much of a fight. So hard to know what to expect from him. He looks like a little bit more of a counter striker to me, although he does tend to stand a little bit more upright. I think that Kamika looks like he's got the more complete game, the more well-rounded game. So I'm going to lean him. I wasn't expecting this fight to be priced so wide just because, I don't know how we can get a sense. It's probably because of that Kelly layoff, but I don't know what to make of it quite so much either, but I'm scared to really fade it entirely because just sort of maybe a superstition of the first fight of the night setting the tone and me not being involved too much. So that superstition might make me play it a little bit more, but yeah, I'm not really focused on the fight too much, but I am picking the favorite.
By the way, Kelly did make weight. Two guys did miss weight in this. Herbert Burns missed by a wide margin, 149.5.
Yes.
Probably not that big of a deal in terms of this fight, how it'll affect it, honestly. He missed by a wide margin, so probably didn't cut super hard to make there. I'm more worried about his long-term future at 145, quite honestly, as he gets bigger, but we'll see. The more concerning one is TJ Brown, 146.5. Missed it by a half pound. I think that was a rough cut. And he's the guy who's gassed in the past. So that's a little concerning to me, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But those are your two weight misses on this card. Both guys forfeiting 20% of their salary and not eligible for performance of the night.
By the way, I forgot to do the cameras. I'll do it from now on. Don't worry, guys. I'm on top of it.
You're fine. All three of us can be there. Next up, I'm going to widen the screen a little bit. Parker Porter, 8,500, taking on... Oh, God. I didn't even know his first name. I had to look it up for a second. Chris Dawkis, not his brother. It is Chris Dawkis at 7,700. This line is closed to a degree that, to me, is kind of baffling, quite honestly. It's a pick'em now. You got odds value here on Dawkis. Parker Porter minus 110. Chris Dawkis plus 100. Guys, Chris Dawkis is not his brother. His brother wasn't that great, but he sucks. You can argue, here's the problem. Parker Porter also sucks. I do think Porter is slightly better, has advantage on the ground. I'm leaning Porter, and I like it for GPP because the odds value is going to have people on Dawkis. Play Dawkis as well. You play both sides of this fight, but I'm taking Porter. I'm against the line movement here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Dawkis is a little better than you think he is, but I do agree with you that, I mean, it's a regional heavyweight fight. So, I mean...
They both suck.
What can we... I mean... Yeah, I'm not going to push back on you too much there. I mean, what can we reasonably expect? I actually think Dawkis' hands are a little sharper than I expected them to be. He actually fought Za Nwanyu, the guy who was on the Contender Series and then popped for steroids, I think, and we haven't seen him since. But he actually got knocked out by him after taking a pretty decisive first round. But anyway, he's got a wrestling game that he goes to sometimes, or at least he did in that fight. And again, I think his hands are actually pretty sharp. I really think Porter is not good. I think he's probably the more of the plotter, although neither of these guys moves particularly well. I think Porter's more of the plotter. I do think Porter probably has a little bit more power, but I think the technique advantage might go to Dawkis here. I think Dawkis gets the finish here. You should have both of these guys. It's either going to finish really quickly or it's going to be the worst 3-round fight you've ever seen. So you're going to have to manage risk that way. I'm going to go for that it's going to be more of the former than the latter. And my pick is going to be Dawkis.
I don't care what these two do. They're going to be aggressive enough to be better than Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. But point taken. Joe,
you're muted, buddy.
Porter, if for no other reason than he's fought better competition. I don't know why you have a 35-year-old debuting in the UFC against a 30-year-old. They're obviously scraping the barrel to find to fill out cards here. Absent being able to get the European and South American fighters to the U.S. to fight. So I guess I'll take Porter just for that reason alone. Although this is another fight that I don't expect to have a great deal of exposure to, irrespective of the line value that Dawkis presents. I'm not a big believer. Maybe somebody can convince me. Frank A. obviously loves Chris Dawkis. I would love to know why. Nothing that I've seen has this guy as a stellar fighter. He's fought inferior competition. I'll take Michael Porter, but again, the first two fights on this slate are not fights that I'm looking to have a great deal of exposure to.
You don't think even as just a sloppy fight where the guys aren't that good, you don't think this finishes as regional heavyweight?
I think you have to have some exposure here. Minus 285 to end inside the distance.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the Dawkis inside the distance is plus 160, which, that's better odds than I thought it was. And Porter inside the distance should be right here.
It's a GPP fight. I'll probably be.
Yeah, that's what you got.
Whatever ownership is, I'll take a look at.
Trying to find where my inside the distance props here for Porter. This is going to bother me. I can't let this go, guys. Porter wins by decision. Porter inside the distance is it's also plus 160. Weird. That's why I couldn't find it. Dawkis round 1 plus. Actually, Porter plus round 1 plus 350. Like, yeah. Fight won't start round 2 plus 155. So I think it's a really strong GPP fight that I think people are going to want to stay away from. Something said, Tajik, I don't even know how to say your name. I screwed up every time. Porter is top 15. I love you, bud, but woof.
I don't know.
I mean, heavyweight is a friggin' wasteland, so you make that argument, I guess. But yes, Joe, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but they always do that with heavyweight. If you're a big dude and you want to throw hands, you can win a couple of regional scene fights. Welcome to the UFC.
Yeah,
so it looks like Brett Apley has got Porter at 24% ownership and Dawkis at 28% ownership. I'm not sure where everybody else is. Let's see where DFS Army might be in terms of ownership.
Giving away everybody's stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm
giving away 2 ownerships. That's it. I'm giving full to the sites that I'm actually getting the information from.
But we charge for. I'm just busting.
Guys, take notes.
As the DFS Army rep here, I will tell you that I will give our ownerships for this fight just because I think it's interesting. Your take on it here.
And this is the only fight you're getting ownership for.
Yes. Dawkis. Wow. We have Dawkis at 17%. Ooh, that's lower than I thought. I thought it would be
22%, which is right on top of where Apley has it at 24, and then
I'll tell you guys personally, I'm way over on this fight then to both sides.
I think it's a good move. I like it.
Now I'm concerned. I'm just kidding.
As you should be, yeah.
All right, let's try to spend a little bit too much time on that. But next up, good. Joe's first for this fight. Lavinia Souza, 8,600, taking on Ashley the Spider Monkey Yoder at 7,600. Line on this fight. Souza minus 150, Yoder plus 140. Yoder can wrestle. Souza BJJ is her best aspect here. On the feet, I don't think neither one of them are very sharp. Personally, there's also a big size advantage in this fight for Yoder. I think she'll be able to keep it upright, counter wrestling, feet. It's super close. Yoder could get some late takedowns, stay out of a submission. Neither one are that good to me. I'm going to lean towards the underdog, but I don't think it's a good fight to play for DraftKings. But I'll mix in some Yoder because if she's the only underdog who wins on this card, she's got a shot for the nut. So give me a little bit of Yoder, and she's my pick here in a close fight. Joe.
Well, I think, a more compelling fight would have been, for several reasons, would have been Herrig against Yoder and Jandiroba against Souza.
Yes.
Yoder against Herrig would have been, a Vaseline fight. But Souza versus Jandiroba would have been, more competitive in my mind. I like the Brazilian gangster here. I think she is much better than Ashley Yoder. Look, Ashley Yoder is long and has got limbs and can, throw up submissions, but I have to believe that Souza is better everywhere. She's an acclaimed black belt in BJJ. She's a better striker, former Invicta strawweight champion. That's why I think this would have been a better fight. Jandiroba versus Souza would have had two former Invicta strawweight champions fighting each other. But this is what we're getting here. Give me the Brazilian gangster all day.
Chris.
So I like Joe's compliment of Ashley Yoder there. She's got limbs, which is the highest praise you can give to a fighter, I think. But I would actually take I would contest something you said, that which is Souza's the better striker here. I'm not seeing that. At least Yoder is a little bit more aggressive. Souza, all she really wants to do is sit back and blast the kicks, and when somebody pressures her, I feel like she just sort of gets bottled up and accepts the pressure. But the thing about her is, as you said, BJJ black belt, but she doesn't go for takedowns all that often. She sort of likes those judo throws in the clinch, and I don't know, like Yoder, she's obviously a better BJJ player than Yoder, but Yoder never been stopped in her career. She got an active guard. I think that can help her in the bottom game there. I don't imagine that she'll sub Souza or anything, but I think it can help her stay alive. And I just think on the feet, the activity and the aggressiveness from Yoder is going to be enough. And Souza just really doesn't do enough in a fight if she's not getting takedowns, and she doesn't do that often enough for me. So I'm going to side with Shaun here, and I'm sticking with the dog.
Moving out. We have TJ Brown, the aforementioned missing weight by half a pound. TJ Brown at 8,800, taking on Danny Chavez at 7,400. Line on this fight. TJ Brown, the favorite, minus 150. Come back on Chavez, plus 140. Fight does not go to decision, minus 155. I don't even care about that. All in on this fight. These guys do not go to decisions. Minus 155 seems low to me. I'm probably going to bet that. Not a betting advice show, but for what it's worth, I think that's too low. TJ Brown is just all action, go. Looks for grappling. Got choked out while in side control last time out, or having Jordan Griffin in side control, and somehow got finished in a spot where you're supposed to get a Von Flue choke. I don't know how it happened, but it did. We've seen him gas out. That's the word here. Danny Chavez finishing people on the regional scene. Also, both these guys in their career have been to decision once. I think TJ Brown's able to grapple here. More volume, probably just a little better everywhere. The weight cut's a little bit of a concern, but give me TJ Brown, and regardless, I have plenty of both sides of this fight. Chris.
Yeah, I just don't like pretty much anything that TJ Brown does. He does wrestle a lot, and that's good for us, but like he's just got no positional awareness. He's one of these guys who like he's got a lot of either sub or get sub, because that's what he does, is just sort of flop around. Like I was actually on Twitter during that fight, if I can brush my shoulders off. After that first round, I said, I'm calling it, TJ Brown is going to get subbed here. And he got subbed just because he kept putting his neck in exactly the same spot time and time again. And eventually, and by the way, we've seen a lot of those power high elbow guillotines. Those are the move. Those get finishes. We just recently saw one with Darren Stewart too. Those are the ones that get the finishes. But yeah, I mean, he's got some nice leg kicks on the feet. He can throw a counter, but he's just really open to be hit when he's not countering. Like if he leads, like he needs to be the one on the counter. And Danny Chavez is just going to be a lot faster than him on the feet. I just don't think that his game is educated at all. And I think that like anybody who's in there with him for more than a round is going to be able to figure him out if that even needs to happen. I'm taking Danny Chavez. if Brown wins, he's probably going to win by a lot because he's probably going to get a lot of takedowns in there. So I have some of him, but just as a game, I just don't like anything he does really. So my pick is Danny Chavez here.
Go.
Yeah, so I like Brown here, and I like him a lot on DraftKings. 63 points in a second-round loss by sub. 7 takedowns, which I don't see any reason why he can't get takedowns again here against Chavez. I think this is a good fight to target. I will have shares of Chavez just because I do see this fight finishing inside the distance. However, of the two, I think Brown is got the better MMA game, so I am in on Brown here.
Moving out. Vera Jandiroba, 9,000, taking on Felice Herrig at 7,200. Jandiroba minus 290. Felice Herrig plus 260. When I first looked at this fight, the line was Vera minus 310. Look, I know Vera's good, and I know Herrig is coming off of an ACL injury and some time off, but minus 310, that don't feel right to me. It just does not. I am picking Vera to win. The issue is when this fight hits the ground, Vera's probably going to get a submission. Felice Herrig, though, has got good takedown defense in the past. I know she was taken down by Michelle Waterson, but over her career has had some good takedown defense. She's really strong. And from a DraftKings perspective, so at some point, I think Vera gets it or just control or finds a second, third round submission. But from a DraftKings perspective, if Herrig just keeps this fight in the feet for the first 5 minutes, or there's a feeling out process, or there's not a first round finish, Souza just cannot make the optimal line. Jandiroba cannot make the optimal lineup. It'll be really hard unless there's a second round with a ton of advanced positions. I'm not counting Felice Herrig out this much yet. I do think she is the underdog here, the aging fighter coming off an injury. I get all that. And I'm not saying Vera isn't better. I just minus 300 better feels yucky. You can get a little bit of Jandiroba because she will be low owned. A high priced woman fighter typically is. So, I mean, I can mix in 10 to 15% my GPP and maybe be field weight or a touch under. Nothing will kill you. I don't love the spot here. And Felice Herrig, I'm going to mix in a little bit because if she can use her strength to keep it upright and keep it in the clinch, like she's physically, I think, stronger than Vera. So there's a path there. Not a high scoring path, but she's super cheap. So Vera's the pick. Felice is live. Joe.
Okay, so it's a little early for a hot take. I will have more Jandiroba than Shaun O'Malley in my DraftKings lineups. Felice Herrig got taken down by Michelle Waterson with a head and arm throw, guys. Jandiroba is one of the most acclaimed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts in the weight class. One loss in her entire career, and that was to Carla Esparza. So you'd ask me, Joe, what did she do against Carla Esparza, one of the best wrestlers in 115? 3 takedowns, 2 reversals, and 5 advances. Scored 49 points in a decision loss against Carla Esparza. She took on Mallory Martin. Okay, 3 takedowns, 5 advances, scored 114 points in a second round sub on DraftKings. Felice Herrig, 35 years old, coming off a nearly 2-year layoff, reconstructive knee surgery, I believe. Jandiroba, former Invicta champion at 115. This fight will get to the ground. Remember, guys, it's a smaller cage. Not that it's in Herrig's nature to run, but if she was, there's not a lot of room to run. Jandiroba will get a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu takedown. Will get a takedown relatively early. Will finish Felice Herrig, who has been a money machine for me, either betting on her or being against her. I don't think I've got a Felice Herrig fight wrong in the last 4 years. So I really like Vera here. I think she's going to be under-owned. I think she's sneaky. Now, if this goes to decision, it's not going to be a high-scoring fight. You are looking for grappling points. In her 2 fights, she's had 17 significant strikes against Esparza and 7 significant strikes in her second-round sub-win against Mallory Martin. So all her points are going to come from grappling. So that's what you're looking for here. That's what's going to get her on the optimal. I think she's a sneaky play because everybody is going to like fighters above her and fighters below her. So I am going to have more exposure to her than I will to Sean O'Malley.
Chris?
Yeah, can I just say, can we get a GoFundMe for Joe to get a new camera? I mean, this looks like a Sega CD video, if you guys remember that.
Listen. We all like Joe. It's not about the money. I know exactly where he's sitting. He's on his nice recliner. Says lots. It's not about money. It's about comfort, and you're not getting that man out of this chair.
I can appreciate that because look at my hair. But
Chris has got his little, his serial killer hair going, his Che Guevara hair going.
You pretend to brush your hair before we start the podcast. We do this once a month now.
Hey, look, I told Joe, this is bedhead. People pay a lot of money to get their hair to look like this. I do it naturally. I'm very blessed in that way. But I'll take over, and I'm going to say that, Joe, you, I think, are going to get your first Felice Herrig fight wrong in 5 years.
You're not picking her straight up, are you?
I agree with you that the line is off, but you got to go the whole way.
Oh my God. I can't go that far.
And that's what, look, there's a couple things here. Number one is that these dynamics, I think, are pretty similar from the last fight, from the Souza fight, in that Jandiroba might be even a little more useless on the feet, a little more
it's aggressive, useless on the feet. Whew.
Being tagged up. Well, I was looking for. I'm going with the spicy words here to get interest. But I think that she's going to be very vulnerable to a fighter in Herrig who, again, has a lot of pressure. I think her boxing game has improved. And as far as Jandiroba getting the sub, I mean, Herrig, another fighter, never been tapped out. And she has, 21 fights, 22 fights, never lost by submission. She's a Jeff Kerr and purple belt. I mean, that's not a joke. And look, I got to tell you something. This might be a long shot, but Jandiroba was putting her neck in a lot of guillotines in that Mallory Martin fight.
I would be stunned if that happened.
I'm just saying.
Hang on. I got to find this. I need to find it. I'm calling timeout in your breakdown because I got to see what this is. Felice Herrig wins by submission. What is this bananas bet? Because it should just be your hot take.
1250.
I gotta find it.
Yeah, while you guys are looking that up, I've seen some comments in chat. Well, Felice Herrig isn't great. Felice Herrig is always in great shape. I mean, she knows how to train. You know who else was in great shape? When he fought Mike Tyson. He was in great shape when he got knocked out in his last fight. And it's a lot easier to be in physically good shape than to be in fighting shape. So I think everybody should just take a pill when you talk about how great a shape Felice Herrig is in, because she's always in great shape.
Herrig by submission plus 2,100.
Yeah, nice. That's got to be it. And I think me and Joe should start a separate show called Bedhead and the 180p Camera. I think that's our marketing.
MMA. He is the creator of my Chase Sherman is better than compound interest video.
Yeah.
I should cut up all the ridiculous hair and beer styles Chris has had on this podcast. Because it's I mean, if you weren't sitting in a house, I swear you were homeless.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Yeah, you got to understand with Chris, it's a function of hair products or food. So he's obviously choosing food over hair products.
That's funny. Okay, sorry, Chris. You may finish your Felice Herrig is going to submit Virna Jandiroba.
Well, I'm just saying, Mallory Martin, some of those were pretty tight looking, and Herrig is a much better grappler. I think she has 4 or 5 subs on her record. So, I don't know. I look, to be clear, I don't expect that to happen. I think there's a non-zero chance that it happens. But I do just think that the wider point here and the more serious one is that Herrig's never been subbed in her career. I think she'll be able to stay safe. And if she can stay safe and sort of play guard and get back to her feet, I really think she's got a chance to take this on the feet. So I agree with you, Shaun. The line is way off. And because of that, we're capitalizing and we're taking Felice Herrig.
All right, I'm a little less aggressive than that. I'll have some Virna. Jim Miller, 8,300, taking on Vince from Hell Pichel at 7,900, a fight you could have seen in the UFC 7 years ago. We get it now, though. Pichel is now the favorite, minus 120. Line has flipped, and I get it. He gets passed here, but call me a Jim Miller fan. Call me a sucker. We had him against Roosevelt Roberts, made a bunch of money. Miller, I think I have a hard time unless Pichel flattens Miller and knocks him out, which I don't think is going to happen. I mean, sure, it's MMA, it could, but I don't see a way in which Miller loses the first round. I think he's quicker on the feet. He's got the kicks. He's, sneaky submission grappler, unless he hunts for a submission the whole first round, I guess, and doesn't get it, maybe. It's more of an issue, is Jim Miller going to fade? Because the second Holtzman got on top of him, we had a problem. Pichel could do that. Pichel's a good wrestler. Miller, just the movement, the kicks, the BJJ prowess here. I'm edging Jim Miller just a little bit everywhere. Pichel is probably, though, more likely to break the slate with a large number. That being said, I don't have a ton of this fight either way. So Miller is the pick. And really, there's so many fights I do want to target, and I'm picking Miller. I might just be under on Pichel and just take a chance here. So give me Jim Miller. Chris.
Yeah, I started out picking Miller, but I ultimately went over to Pichel. I just think that Miller's tendency to get himself backed up, especially in the small cage here, is not going to do too well. Like you saw in that Scott Holtzman fight, he was getting himself backed up and landing that left hand well, but that's kind of all he was doing. And eventually Holtzman figured it out, and that was pretty much the fight from there. I just think that Pichel, as you said, Miller's takedown defense, very not great. I think Pichel can get him down a lot, and I think he's too veteran to get guard subbed. I don't see that happening. So I just think Miller's going to put himself in some bad spots here, as I said, especially in the small cage. And so I'm going Pichel. I think the only way Miller really does win this is another scrambling mat sub, and I'm not seeing it. So I'm picking Pichel.
Oh,
yeah, I'm with Chris. I think Miller will get more backed up than Chris eating a block of government cheese. I definitely see. Yeah, I definitely like Pichel here. I do think he's got to watch himself in the first round. I think Miller will get a little tired. There is line value on Pichel. I expect him to be pretty popular, so watch out. I'm not sure that if this fight goes to decision that it will score well, but if you're looking for someone in that price range, I think you could do a lot worse.
Moving out. Merab Dvalishvili, 8,700, taking on John Dodson at 7,500. Merab is minus 245, Dodson plus 225. Merab, also known as DraftKings Gold, also known as the Machine, also known as the guy who's going to beat John Dodson. And I say with the pause because I've picked John Dodson I was going to start swearing on the podcast, a lot of fights. I was crazy enough to pick him against Nathaniel Wood. Humble brag, I know, but I'm the guy who's stood up for John Dodson a lot. Anybody in the universe who's going to pick John Dodson, it was probably going to be me. 25-foot cage. I know he's quick. Merab just doesn't stop. And I think eventually, the fifth, sixth takedown attempts are going to get there. And even if Dodson keeps it on the feet, which I don't think is likely, I think he's more likely to get taken down, pop up. Like we could see a lot of takedowns here. Dodson just doesn't have enough volume to win a decision. And knocking out Merab, Merab's cardio is too good, I think, to get Flash knocked out. I guess we'll see, but look, give me Merab. He's going to be chalk. I'm eating the chalk. Your cash lineup starts, stack it up, play Merab Dvalishvili. That's your cash lineup. If it's not, you're doing something wrong, in my opinion, for cash games. Like that is it's the build most people are going to have. Let those who don't make the mistake, my opinion. Give me Merab. Not much Dodson here, even in a win, not a ton of upside. So, Joe.
Yeah, so Dodson has never given up an advance in his entire UFC career. However, he's 36 years old. He can't run because of the small cage, or it's going to limit his mobility. Merab has got a 3-inch height advantage. He's going to have a strength advantage. In an odd way, the lack of advances is going to work somewhat in our favor here, in that I see a lot of rinse and repeat takedowns, because Merab has never been good at holding people down during the best of times. So, you could get another look, I don't expect 170 points that you got with Merab in his last fight because of the lack of advances. But look, he's coming in at a lower price point. You are going to get your grappling points here. So yeah, give me Merab. Have a few shares of Dodson just because. But he's really undersized at 135. I really like Merab here. Give me Merab.
Chris.
So I think Joe hit on it, and for me, it's the strength advantage. John Dodson has an 80% takedown defense rate overall, but since he's moved up to bantamweight, he's been taken down. I wrote it down somewhere. I think it's 4 of his last 5, and those were all at bantamweight. So I think the strength advantage plays here. The smaller cage plays. He's going to be so highly owned, and Dodson is a guy. He's going to do what he does. He's going to back himself up. He's going to try to blitz out of the corner with barrages, and I expect him to have some success here. I expect him to land some shots. We've seen that Merab is tough, so I don't see it as that much of a concern. I could see Dodson having like a decent first round maybe, but I think that overall the takedowns are going to come rinse and repeat, and the smaller cage and the strength advantage really helps that. So yeah, I'm taking Merab.
Moving out. Herbert Burns also missed weight. 8,900 taking on Daniel Pineda at 7,300. Pineda making his return to the UFC. Pineda, to his credit, his fights are not boring. Burns, big favorite, minus 260. Pineda, plus 240. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 425. Load up on this one on DraftKings. Look, Pineda has been in plenty of scrambles. Just got popped by USADA, by the way. Or failed. I don't know if it was USADA, but he failed a drug test fighting in PFL, where everybody's juice. So that's a thing. And he scrambles a lot. He gets in these scrambles, and if you do that against Herbert Burns, like Jeremy Kennedy is going to take your back. Herbert Burns is going to put you to sleep. That's pretty much how I see this one. Like Pineda needs to keep it standing, and even then, it's kind of a close fight where you just limit Burns' upside. I don't think it's going to happen. Both these guys are active. Give me Herbert Burns, one of my favorite plays on the board. This fight, we are starting with Chris.
Yeah, this is a weird stream. I agree with you pretty much completely here. I think that Burns likes to play too much. He likes to see if he can grab that sub. He likes to extend the grappling exchanges, and you're just not going to be able to do that here. For that reason, he'll get himself backed up and get himself in clinch situations.
You mean Pineda likes to do that? You said Burns does.
Yeah, Pineda likes to do that. Thank you for the correction. Pineda likes to do that, and he likes to get himself backed up, and he doesn't mind getting clinched up. And this is just not the time to play that game. I think Burns gets him down a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see a sub here. Just not a good matchup for Pineda, in my opinion. Burns always makes me nervous because he's a little frantic, and he can get hit with a shot. But I think he's going to have this fight in his world pretty quickly, and once he gets it there, I think he's just going to ride it home. So Burns is the pick.
Oh.
Yeah, not much to add. I mean, Pineda has been, I think, popped twice for PEDs. Interesting kind of bring back to the UFC based off of 2 failed drug tests. But I guess it might be interesting while it lasts. I think you have to rely on Burns, but you should probably have a few shares of Pineda just as a hedge. The guy's got a lot of experience, a lot more than Burns. So if Burns decides, if he falls off the hype train, you should probably have a few shares of Pineda. But yeah, I got to go with Hubert Burns here.
Moving out. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 8,400, taking on Junior Dos Santos at 7,800. Line in this fight, Rozenstruik minus 120. Comeback on JDS plus 110. We got Biggie Boy versus Chicano. Look, this is a spot I'm leaning towards the upset. And it's for this reason. Look, Rozenstruik, big power, but I think technically he's just not as good as Junior Dos Santos in a technical fight. And he was losing 24 minutes of the fight against Overeem before he caught him, exploded his exploded his lip and getting the knockout. So, stylistically, Dos Santos is in this fight. The problem is Dos Santos is old and has been through wars and is definitely on the decline. So it's more of, I think you're picking against how shot you think Dos Santos is. I know Curtis Blades knocked him out, and Curtis Blades isn't really a striker, but Curtis Blades is Curtis Blades. So either one of these guys could get a knockout. I love this fight for DFS. Rozenstruik, either one of these guys could win in the first round. I don't think that. I guess JDS is more likely to win a decision should they go 3 rounds, but at 7,800, you don't need a slate breaking perform. You don't need 110 there. Both these guys, I mean, Rozenstruik in a second round finish at 8,400 isn't the worst thing in the world. So Rozenstruik's upside is clearly there. I'm just picking JDS because I think he's better technically, and I'm going to give him one more shot to prove he's not shot. And that's really what this, if you're picking Rozenstruik, you have to be telling me it's because JDS has done. And I'm fine with that pick. So load up both sides in GPP, stay the hell away in cash games, and see who falls down here. This one, Joe.
Did you refer to Junior as Chicano?
Isn't that his nickname?
Sagano.
Chicano, whatever.
So, brown lives do matter. So,
God, don't start with that. Listen. I crush the Russian names. Anything in the sphere of Spanish, Latin America, I'm atrocious. I would rather say Dvalishvili than Rodriguez.
Junior Chicano.
Chicano, whatever. I'm focused on not stuttering, and you gotta bring this up, Joe. Get a better camera.
Okay, okay, I got it. So I'm kind of with you there, Shaun, on the dog here. Look, I think Rozenstruik, obviously, or Rosie, as I refer to him, he's got a lot of power. But let's not forget that he was losing to Alistair Overeem, who I think at this point in his career, Junior Dos Santos is better prior to getting his lip split open. And if that fight went a couple more seconds, he would have lost the decision. I got starched by Francis Ngannou, big time, just got leveled. Look, I don't know that
is that a mark against him, Joe? I don't know.
No, it's not a mark against him. What I'm saying is you could throw that fight out just like you could throw out the Overeem fight. So I don't think we know how good Rosie is. I mean, I would have liked to have not seen him rushed up. I thought that was a horrible mistake that he was rushed up. I wanted to see him fight Cyril Gagne. I mean, take two contender heavyweights and put them together and see what they can do. I don't like that. I wanted to see that fight big time. So I'm going to go with Sagano, Junior Dos Santos here, but you should certainly have a few shares the other way.
Chris.
So I'll give you another reason why you should pick Rozenstruik. Doesn't have to do with Sagano being shot. The fact that, well, not entirely. The fact that he's always been like kind of iffy defensively, but he's just been a nightmare lately. In the Ngannou fight, he threw the wildest right hand I've ever seen anybody throw. Almost fell over and got countered. And in the Blades fight, he insisted on throwing those big rear uppercuts and left his face wide open for a wrestler to punch through it, and he did. And he got the stoppage. Rozenstruik is a counterpuncher to a fault. That's why it took him so long to finish Alistair Overeem. He always waits for his shot. For better or worse, he's going to have a lot of opportunities here. And I say that thinking that Junior Dos Santos could have a lot of success in this fight. He's still got a good jab. His hands are still pretty fast. But and I don't usually bet on fights that are like, oh, this guy needs to find his counter opportunity. But JDS has just been giving those windows so frequently to strikers that are not as good as Rozenstruik, and it's just not going to pay off here. We haven't even mentioned that he still likes to back himself into the cage, so he's not going to really have room to evade at certain points, especially with the small cage, and I just don't like any part of it. I think JDS is getting knocked out. I'm picking Rozenstruik.
Moving on, moving out. Here it is. The hot take for Joe. Sean O'Malley, 9,200, taking on Marlon Chito Vera at 7,000. O'Malley minus 255. Vera plus 235. Look, I'm taking O'Malley, but this is clearly the best opponent he has ever had. He, knocked out the ghost of Eddie Wineland last time out. They gave him Andre Sukumta, who he, just managed to escape by because Andre Sukumta is stupid, but we'll go past that one. He beat Teko Quinones, who's okay at best. I think the best you could say about Quinones is he's okay. Chito Vera is no joke in this division. He can find submissions. If he can drag O'Malley into deep water or, God forbid, find a takedown, I want to see what O'Malley has off his back. He talks a lot of crap about BJJ. If you watch places he trains, he's got a purple belt. Like, he's not useless on the ground, but I do think Vera's better. I want to see how good O'Malley's ground game is, how legit it'll be in the UFC. My issue, though, why I can't get to Vera's live, especially as the cheapest fighter on the card. Why I can't get to picking him? He's too much of a slow starter. If you start slow against Sean O'Malley, O'Malley's going to light you up on the feet. And O'Malley clearly has game-changing power. So, most expensive fighter on the card, going to be super popular. I'm not opposed to being underweight and focusing on the mid-range, because if O'Malley doesn't get a first-round finish, he probably doesn't pay off. Give me O'Malley for the win. I'll probably play some O'Malley, and I'll have a little bit Vera on the hedgeback, who I do think is live. I mentioned Joe had the hot take. I'm going to make you wait for it, though, because, Chris, you're up first.
Yeah, I think you nailed it from where I'm coming from there, Shaun, which is just the fact that we've seen Vera just wait around too much, and Sean O'Malley's just way too dangerous from kicking range, and he's just going to light him on fire, I think. Now, Vera's a good kicker, too, which makes this an interesting fight. We're going to see whose kicks are better. I think the answer is O'Malley's. I also think he has better hands, and he's better at setting things up, setting traps, the nice feint uppercut that he used to knock out Eddie Wineland. I just think that he's more active. I think he probably hits harder. We've seen Vera use his wrestling a little bit more lately. That could be a factor, so that would be an interest. Sean O'Malley's done a lot of grappling lately. He's been had a lot of those quintet matches. Just looked it up real quick. He lost to, I didn't see any of these. He lost to Hector Lombard. He drew Gilbert Melendez, and then he beat somebody. I just looked at it. He beat Takanori Gomi. So he's been doing a lot of grappling lately. We're gonna have to see how it translates to an MMA setting. But I'm looking forward to it. I just think it's going to be a little too much. To your point, Shaun, Vera's tough, and I don't believe he's ever been knocked out, at least not in the UFC. So that is
and he was in there with Douglas Silva, Dion Jiraj, and John Lineker.
Yep,
and
true.
Tumblings.
So I think that if anybody could do it, it's O'Malley, because I think he has the tools to do it. I'm picking him here. If it doesn't pay off, it's going to hurt, but I have a sneaky feeling that it might. But, just keep that in the back of your mind. And maybe if you're uncomfortable at that, target a little lower. But I like O'Malley here.
Go. Hit us up with the fire.
Yeah, so, look, I mean, I get the sparks that O'Malley has, presented. It goes part and parcel with, the multicolored hair, the game playing, the smoking of dubage. I get it. He's fought nobody. I mean, Sukumtat wins that fight if he asks Sean O'Malley to stand up, which he could not do. Teko, okay, nothing there. 65-year-old Eddie Wineland, this is a test for him. Every single fight I see Vera gets better. He arguably beat Song Yadong, who is a top prospect at 135. I thought he won the fight personally. It was close. I had a lot of Song, so I was happy that Song got the decision. But the fan in me had Vera winning. He wins by submission. He wins by knockout. He wins by decision. I think his camp is going to tell him, look, you can't start slow, and I think he knows that. That's been his mantra ever since he lost a round to Guido Giannetti back in Argentina. He knows that. I think that narrative is overblown. Look, love him at 7K. Just think about what you can do with lineup creation, with a 7K Cheeto Vera in your lineup. There's very little that you can't do. So I do like him a lot. I think he's got a great chance here. I'm going to pick Cheeto by sub.
Cheeto round 3 plus 1900 says MMA KO.
Wow.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's not a bad
Yeah,
stat.
if he comes on, it's going to be later probably. So there you go.
Right. Moving on, moving out. It's time. This is it. Stipe Miocic, 8,200. Daniel Cormier, 8,000. We're going to crown the heavyweight GOAT. In my opinion, is there really an argument here? Heavyweight GOAT on the line? I don't think so.
Has either one of these guys beaten Fedor? I rest my case.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, but Matt Mitrione has.
Yeah, that's true.
Daniel Cormier, minus 110. He's the favorite. Miocic, plus 100. Look, we know how the first two fights played out. Cormier knocks out Stipe in the first one, dominating the second one for 3 rounds until Miocic has success with body shots in the 4th round and finishes DC. DC just needs to back off the gas pedal a little bit, and I think he's better than Stipe. He has more volume. He can clearly hang in there on the feet. He's got the better wrestling. He is outmatched in size, and the gas tank is a little concerning just because what happened last time, but he threw so much volume and he can be hurt. That's the thing. We've seen obviously DC finish, Stipe finished him, John Jones finished him, Gustafsson dropped him in their fight. People forget that. Like, he can be hurt. So there's a little bit of concern there. Me, I have a stronger opinion than most. I acknowledge this fight could go either way. They are heavyweights. Stipe is underrated pretty standardly throughout, or pretty consistently throughout his career. I just think DC is too smart to make the same mistake again. Can Stipe make a different adjustment and find a late win? Sure. Could either one of these guys find a first round finish again? Absolutely. I think more times than not, when they walk into the cage, DC comes out the winner. So I have DC play both sides. This lineup, this fight needs to be in every single one of your DraftKings lineup, maybe one for a hedge in case somebody faints in the back or there's an eye poke. Like, pretty much all of your lineups, stack it up in cash, let someone else make a mistake. If you're that confident, go bet it instead of doing that on DK. So, because last time these two fought, they both scored over 100 on DraftKings. So give me DC. That's my pick on this card. Joe, start us off for the main event.
Yeah, so I like Stipe here. I picked Stipe last time. I picked Stipe in the first fight. I think he was very much impaired by the eye poke. I really did think it contributed to the knockout. Definitely got his revenge in the second fight, working the body. It was a masterful performance. Cormier, you could just literally see the air go out of Cormier. Look, I think there could be potentially some live betting opportunities here if Stipe does lose a round or two. If Stipe goes into plus money territory, I plan on making a bet, which I can, look at maybe pressing on and live betting. This is the one fight I have my eye on for live betting. So
he's plus money now, by the way.
Was he at plus money? I thought it was just like minus 105, but
5 dimes is plus 100.
Okay, so give me Stipe here. I like him. I'm going to have share, obviously, of DC. I think this is a fight you should probably target 80 to 90% in your GPPs and have exposure. So give me Stipe.
Chris?
I just want to say, Shaun, that in case somebody faints, we've been seeing that more and more, so maybe that is a legitimate concern. But
happens.
It does happen, but I'm also going with 3 for 3 with Stipe here. I guess I disagree that Stipe is the better striker. I actually think that I disagree that DC is the better striker, I should say. I actually think that Stipe is the much better striker. DC is faster, to be sure, and the body shots, I'm just not sure it's going to be an adjustment that DC can make, because we know how he strikes. He grabs your hands and he tries to come over the top. Well, if you do that, your hands are away from your body, so I can now hit you in the body. And if that's just going to be that's just his style, that's the way he strikes. And we've seen it. It's more of a late career adjustment. He did it against both fights against John Jones, and I think since the first John Jones fight. But so it's going to be interesting to see what he does. And I just think that you say DC needs to go off the gas pedal. I don't think he knows what that means. I think there's only one way he fights at this point. He's 41, and he's coming into his last fight. So is he going to change for one fight right now? I really don't see it. And I think that as far as the wrestling goes, I mean, yeah, DC got him down early, controlled him. But, later on in the fight, Stipe was able to use his frame as DC gassed. And even the only other takedown in that fight was scored by Stipe. So, and I think another big part of this for me is that I just don't I don't see DC replicating that knockout, really. I mean, we saw early in the second fight, DC hit Stipe with a lot of those same clinch shots, and he didn't fall. So he took him pretty well. So I happen to agree with Joe there. I do think some of that was probably the big shots he had taken from Ngannou just a couple months earlier. I think that the speed is going to be an issue, and I think that Stipe has a very real chance of falling behind early, but I think he's going to make up for that late in spades. I'm actually predicting another late round finish here. And, I'm taking Stipe Miocic.
All right, that's what we got for you guys for this podcast. Hit us up with hot takes, something unexpected you think happens for UFC 252. There's always something crazy. I'll read a couple out on the air. You guys got one queued up? Actually, I should just go right over to Chris, because Chris gave his out. You both gave yours out already.
Yeah.
Frankly. I mean, I'll just recap here before I find mine. Joe taking Chito Vera straight up to beat Sean O'Malley.
Oh, by sub, I think, right?
And by sub.
By sub.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of crazy ass submissions, you got Chris over here who's taking Felice Herrig to submit Vera Jandiroba.
Mark it down, guys.
That is bananas.
If you get rich, I only ask that you send me 10% of what you
10%. All right. My hot take. Got to find a quick, spicy one here. I want to say, God, I'm pretty chalky this card. I mean, Junior Dos Santos isn't that much of a hot take. You know what? I'll give you. See, I don't think so, but I guess according to the odds, he kind of would be. Let's do this. Let's go to the main event. Let's double down my stance here. Daniel Cormier wins by submission.
There you go.
I think he's gonna get this fight down. I think he's gonna find the back at some point. Give me DC by rear naked choke.
This was actually a question asked earlier, but it is a hot take, and he wants our opinions on it. So, if you would mind, fellas,
at a plus 7,500 parlay, Dawkis, Vera, Levija, Burns, JDS, Vera, Miocic.
It's a mouthful.
That's just a lot. That's just so many legs. Like, I mean, some lunch money, sure.
Oh yeah, throw $10 on it and see what you get. I guess. I
mean, you got 750.
Yeah,
that's just so many legs with so much questionable stuff in there. I mean, sure. I mean, it's parlay. It's fine. Vince, Pichel in round 3. Vince, I don't think that's a hot take, brother. I mean, it's specific, but I mean, Pichel. The later this fight goes,
it has to be based on odds. It has to be.
Yeah. No, you're right. I apologize, Vince. You're right. It's one of the past I see that fight could go. Vera, second round KO by John Taylor. Like it. Eric Raymond, Biggie Boy, Stipe, Jim Miller, Herrig parlay. Plus
got a lot of big parlays this week, man.
Whew. A lot of parlays. And it's 1,800, says Vince. That's referring to Pichel in round 3.
Oh, Vince is two of them.
That's worth $5. That's worth a $5. Anybody else? Last call. We did great on the pacing this week, guys. I am super proud of us. Last one, take one more question from Frank A. again. What's more likely, a O'Malley decision or a Vera submission?
I'm going to say O'Malley decision. Vera's tough to put away.
God, that's tight. I lean O'Malley decision. I lean on that.
I think. Well,
Oh,
we know which way Joe goes on this one because it's
TJ,
actually.
come on.
O'Malley decision is like plus 185, I think.
Is that right?
DC versus Stipe ends in a draw.
Well, that's always like plus 20,000 or something, isn't it?
Oh my God!
I'll buy you a Happy Meal if that happens.
Yeah.
Like a total. I mean, is it the most? I mean, that's the kind. Here's what's messed up. That's the kind of thing to happen to Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, it is.
So really. Daniel Cormier,
and then he would have to stick around for another fight.
Oh God, what are the odds on this? I need to find it because that is so Daniel Cormier, and it's gonna happen. We're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about him. And is he gonna retire? What's he gonna do? Fight is a draw plus 6,500.
Oh wow, okay, so only 65. All right.
God, that makes me want to throw up. People bet it on the Sports International site plus 4,600. It's been bet down. On that note, guys, go brush your teeth, get the taste of that out of your mouth. Yeah. Enjoy this great DraftKings card. Remember to go to rotowire.com/free for a 10-day free trial to all the RotoWire premium content. No credit card required. Give all of us a follow on Twitter. I'm at sniper_DFS. That's at real Chris Olsen. Needs no intro or kind of wrap up summary, but he is at Sun Tzu.
Oh, before we go,
yeah,
sorry, go. Just quick little plug. My FanDuel DFS article and also my betting preview, which is based off the William Hill lines. It's on my Twitter page that Shaun just mentioned, but it's also at rotowire.com. You go to the MMA section, you'll find it all there.
All right, guys. On that note, let's get the hell out of here. I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm paying for this card. No illegal streams, guys. Pony up for this one because it is, to me, it's worth the $65. However you watch it, however you play. Good luck in your contests. See you next time.
Peace.
Later, everyone.